I hope you're all doing okay. Everybody's going through so much right now. I got us some orchids. Thought maybe we could all use a little bit more beauty in our life. So hope you enjoy that. Um, and actually, you know what? Let's start out with a visual meditation, since we have these pretty orchids to look at. Um, I'm gonna You can do this when you're outside. That's the best place to do it, but since it's a rainy day, we'll just use these orchids right now. So if you can make the orchids really big on your screen. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So allow yourself, if you can make the picture of the orchids large. You can do this with a candle, you can do it with a flower, you can do it with anything. And just really look up close. Obviously, it's better when you're in nature and you can do it with a real plant, but just wanted to introduce you to the idea of a visual meditation. And with a candle, you can stare at the center part of the flame. But for now, what I'm inviting you to do is just really look at this flower and just take in its beauty. Look closely and just breathe it in. Nature right now has such, I mean, it's always had a powerful healing quality, but I'm just finding that I feel so much better when I'm outside, and I feel so much better when I'm touching flowers and touching plants and breathing in the energy that nature has for us right now. So I'm sure most of you have figured this out yourselves, but if you haven't, I would so strongly encourage you to just go for a meditative walk and get into as wild a place as you can. There's so many beautiful parks around here. Devil's Lake is not that far, although it's pretty crowded right now. But there's all these little tiny parks that are all over the place. And just walk in the woods and breathe. There's a different frequency in the woods, and it's very, very healing. So as you look at the flower, just breathe in the color. Breathe in the beauty and the essence of this flower. And just like you would with your breath, if that were the object of your meditation, just allow your mind to rest on the color of the flower, the structure of the flower, the bright spots. Just taking it in fully through your senses, much like you would a sound meditation or a sound bath. It's just a small taste of what you can do with nature. And I've been going for a lot of walks in the woods. Olin Park, which is so close to Monona Terrace, is a great place, and it's not very crowded usually. There's a path through the woods, and you could just feel the energy of the trees supporting you. Okay, so let's shift to a more of an inward focus now. And if you're comfortable with closing your eyes, do that. If it feels safer to have your eyes open, I would just encourage you to have your gaze be soft and slightly downward. You can either be lying or sitting, whatever's most comfortable, or standing if you're really sleepy. And let's keep going with the forest idea. So I want you to visualize your favorite nature spot, and maybe it's a beach, maybe it's a forest, maybe it's a lake, but someplace outside that you really feel resonant with. And if you don't have a place in mind like that, or you're somebody who's really sensitive to mosquitoes or something like that, just imagine kind of a utopian outdoor space that doesn't have any mosquitoes or anything unpleasant. And just imagine your outdoor space. Maybe it's full of flowers. Imagine the sounds. Maybe there's birds. Maybe you're near water and there's sounds of water or waves. If you're near trees, imagine that rustling sound that trees make in wind. I was just meditating on some trees the other day over at Yahara Place Park, just lying under some trees, and it was really windy. It was amazing the sound that the leaves were making. Just use your full imagination here. If it's sunny in your imagination, imagine that feeling of the light when you close your eyes and it brightens up your eyes even though your eyes are closed. That feeling when you turn your face towards the sun and you can feel the sun on your face. Imagine that you're taking off your shoes and walking barefoot, either in grass or sand or whatever your trail is. And feel with your feet. Imagine the feeling of the earth beneath your feet. So you walk one step at a time, very slowly, breathing in the healing power of the earth. It has a different vibration, it has a higher frequency when you're in a wild place. And even if you can't feel that necessarily, we can start to access these things by imagining them. So we use our imaginations, and then eventually we can actually feel the difference. So just imagining that your nature place has a higher frequency, a frequency. What I mean by that, without getting too woo-woo on you, is I just mean that it's elevating. It makes you feel buoyant, makes you feel lighter, more peaceful, more at ease, less anxious, less bogged down, and more heavy or low frequency type things. Nature can really take us, give us a respite from all the difficulties, all the things going on right now so that we can tap into something higher, can tap into something bigger than us, and return to our daily lives feeling more equipped, to handle all of this. So continue on your walk, feeling the earth beneath your feet. Maybe there's a gentle breeze. Look all around you and see the beauty. Greens and blues, purples and pinks and oranges, all the colors of nature, vibrant. And imagine that you go very close up to a flower, a very fragrant flower. Pick your favorite flower, and lilacs are so beautiful smelling, but maybe you have a different one. And just remember the smell and breathe in the smell of that flower. And then look closely at it. Look at the intricacies. Look at how perfect nature is, how delicate. Imagine touching the flower and feeling the soft petals. And then in your mind's eye, lay down a blanket or just sit down in the grass. There's no bugs here because it's our imaginations. Just be right on the earth. Maybe you're laying down in your visualization, or maybe you're sitting on a cushion, but you're surrounded by this beauty. And there's no human noise around. It's just all natural sounds. Birds, water, the wind. And just breathe it all in. Tune into your breath while you're surrounded by this gorgeous space of your own making. And if your mind wanders and you notice that it's wandered to a story or worries or any thoughts, Just notice what it's wandered to and bring it back to this beautiful space. Bring it back to your breath. Pick a place in the body that you're aware of the breath. Could be the tip of your nose, back of your throat. Could be the expansion of your lungs and your chest wall stretching. Could be your abdomen and the way the belly button pushes out with the in-breath. The belly button retracts towards the spine with the out-breath. Or maybe you like to sit and feel your entire body breathing. Any of these are fine. Just notice what's easiest today, where it's easiest to be in awareness of the breath. In this beautiful place. And remember, there's no problem with the mind wandering. It's just what minds do. Those myths about you can't meditate if you have a busy mind are just that. They are myths. Trust me, I have an incredibly busy mind and been meditating for a couple of decades. Still busy. So it's about letting go of your attachment, about having a perfectly still mind. And when you let go of that, there's no more struggling and suffering. You're just like, well, okay, sometimes my mind is busy. And you just release the attachment again and again. Just recognize that you're trying your best. And this translates into life, of course. We're all just trying our best. And what we need is such gentleness, such compassion, such kindness towards ourselves and patience. Cutting yourself the most slack you ever have. Doesn't mean we don't keep trying and moving towards our best and most truthful and expansive life, but just means that we release the pressure that we put on ourselves to be perfect. We release the pressure to do it right all the time, to be busy, to be productive. These times are teaching us so many lessons. And one of them is how to slow down and be still. Tolerate not doing. And we can resist that and suffer a lot. And just be aware of that suffering then. Be aware of the resistance if that's the place that you're at. There's no judgment. We all go through these waves of acceptance and resistance, of letting go, getting a little peace, and then finding ourselves in resistance again. So it's not about doing it right or doing it perfect. Don't make meditation and your spiritual practice another perfectionism project. It's just about putting in a little bit of effort and then letting go, just letting it be how it is. So, with that, I would invite you to just sit back, let go. If your mind wanders and drifts, it's certainly not the end of the world. And you can bring it back. You can bring it back to your breath. Or if you have a mantra practice, you can do that. Whatever is helping you feel safe and grounded, or safer and grounded in this moment. We're all just doing the best we can. So be gentle, be sweet, be kind to yourself. And let's just sit together, knowing that collectively the 80 or 100 people, or how many people we have today participating, that we're all here together, breathing, elevating our own frequency, accessing our own light, so that we can go out into the world and be a brighter light, which is going to help the planet and help everybody else. Let's sit together. Let's sit together in your beautiful nature space of your own making. And see if you can sit back and relax this time. See if you can not be tight with yourself about meditating. See if you can maybe put in a little effort, but not try so hard. And make it more about the kindness and the love that you're showing yourself right now than about doing something right or being mechanical about coming back to the breath. It's more about breathing in the collective love that we're creating here. Breathing in the energy of caring and unity and kindness. for these last 5, 7 minutes or so of our meditation, I'd invite you to just ask your higher self, where am I resisting my life right now? Where am I suffering unnecessarily? My opinion is that one of the only antidotes for the angst and anguish and anxiety and emotional roller coaster that we're all experiencing right now, one of the only places of respite is when we can fully drop into the present moment. And you can do this. This is for any time. This is not just for meditating. This is for as much as you can. Really fully arrive when you notice that you're suffering, or you notice that it might even be subtle. It might even just be a sense of like, oh, there's an ache or something's not quite right. I have found, and many teachers will say this as well, that it's human tendency to want things to be different than they are. But only when you drop into this moment, just as it is, you drop the story about the future, you release as much as you can the thoughts, the projections, confusion. Things are so uncertain. So, any stories you're making up about the future right now, most of them are probably not even true. So, see if in your daily life, when you notice that you're suffering, see if you can just drop into the present moment. Just take a few deep breaths to ground yourself, and then just notice what's right in front of you. Literally, maybe you're just doing the dishes, and just drop into doing the dishes and really feel the hot water. Or maybe you're with your child or grandchild and your mind has wandered and you're worrying about something. Notice it, catch it, and drop into the present moment. Look into their eyes, play with them, be fully present, even if it's just for 15 minutes. You will find tremendous respite in just dropping into the present moment. All these worries and stories and projections about the future that all humans have right now, they are not serving us. They're creating a lot of difficulty for each one of us. And we can support ourselves and we can support the planet by releasing the stories of the future and the stories of the past and just dropping in. And as much as we can, trying to trust that things are unfolding exactly as they need to right now. Even when on this plane, it looks really, really ugly sometimes. And I'm not saying we stop fighting for justice, and I'm not saying we stop caring, stop being kind. I'm not saying any of that. Just saying we release the grip that the story has on us. We step back and see the bigger picture. That COVID will end at some point. That things will get better in the world. That the world is evolving and transforming, and part of the reason everybody's so shaken up is we are releasing old patterns. So if you're having a lot of big emotions come up or a lot of fatigue, know that you're right on track. There's nothing wrong with you. All of this energy is coming up to be purged so that we can move into the next phase. This is the transformation. And the more you can ride the waves and come back to the present moment again and again and again, the less you will suffer. So for just the last couple of minutes, just ask yourself, how can I drop into the present moment, or where am I resisting? And instead of cognitively thinking with your brain, just tune into your body and see what pops up. See what memories or visuals or sensations pop up. This time is for getting more and more in tune with our own inner guide, our own inner higher wisdom. It's about learning how to ask the question, show me, give me guidance, and then sitting back and waiting and listening to your heart and your soul to speak to you. It's not usually through cognitive thought. It'll be more like a knowing or a sense of things, or a picture or a memory or a sound or a sensation. The body speaks to us in many different ways. Our soul, higher wisdom, whatever you want to call it, it speaks to us in many different ways. So we're all finding the ways that our soul speaks to us now. It's part of this time as well. So sit back and just listen. Stop trying. I'd invite you all now to imagine that we're all in a big circle outside. It's a beautiful day. And imagine that you can look around and see the faces of everyone in the circle. This is the imagination, so there's no masks and there's no COVID, and it's safe. And imagine that everyone in the circle is smiling. And we're all sending each other love, and we're all sending each other really good energy, really loving energy. And as we share that energy with each other, it radiates outwards from our circle. And that's what it's doing right now. Radiates outwards into the whole city, the county, the state, the country, the continent, the planet, the universe. Most important thing right now is your own self-love and compassion. While some may think that's selfish, it is absolutely not. It is the way that we will heal this planet, by each one of us learning how to love ourselves, learning how to be gentle with ourselves. It will only radiate outwards from you, and it will affect everyone you touch. So thank you. Thank you for coming today and opening yourself to the present moment. You have access to the expansiveness of the entire universe when you drop into just the present moment. So simple and so hard sometimes. So may the fruits of our practice spread outwards in all directions and help to end the suffering of all beings everywhere. May our practice help to heal the earth and all of its inhabitants. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks so much for helping to raise the vibration of the planet. We're all doing it. It's really good to be with you. Appreciate it.
Let's see, do we have any questions today? I'll let everybody come out of their relaxation state.
Oh, well, while I'm waiting for questions, I'm just gonna let people know, as I try to do each time, that I am accepting private clients, and I'm finding this is a good place for me to talk about that because I'm really looking for people that are interested in growth and transformation and utilizing this time that can be so difficult as a catalyst for growth. And that's the kind of work that I find really fun and exciting. I don't take insurance, but I'm very willing to talk about sliding scales if money's a limiting factor. So my background is a psychiatrist, but I really am more about doing therapy and really from a somatic place. So the way that I do therapy lately with people is by helping people. It's really kind of like meditating out loud, honestly. And I'm finding it to be very successful with people, especially with a trauma history, but also people just that are looking for growth and transformation and living their own fullest life. So anyway,
We have 2 questions.
wanted to share that with you. I see that. So DJ says, love the silent screaming orchids. Thank you for your calming energy today. You're welcome, DJ. And then the next person says, is meditation best planned rather than spontaneous? I don't think there is a best. I think that both are best. I think that having a daily practice so that you train your mind to get used to it, that's a great idea. And then the spontaneous meditations where you catch yourself, where you're in angst or you're in worry, and you realize, oh, okay, my mind is like going into the future, it's going into story, it's going into non-truth or just uncertainty. Those spontaneous meditations can be lifesavers. They're saving me. And oftentimes, if I feel really stuck, that's when I will go outside and I'll walk in the woods. Or if I can't do that, I'll just sit by a tree or sit by a plant. So I hope that answers that question. Both. I would recommend a daily meditation, even if all you can do is 3 minutes. Even if that's what you can commit to, that is perfect. It's the consistency. And then what happens with the consistency is you start to have awarenesses that drop in spontaneously that your mind has gone into story or you've gone into autopilot. But without that daily consistent practice or, almost every day, it's hard to start catching your mind and doing the spontaneous meditation. So you kind of need both. Hope that answers that question. I feel the spirit spoke through you today to calm and heal. Thanks, Marianne. I feel very calm too. Are you still considering holding a live meditation outdoors? Yes, Kathy, I am. I've just been kind of waiting for the right time, and I have people who are interested texted me, and I have you in my phone as outdoor meditation. So at some point you may get a text from me that says we're going to do it. And, I thought about doing it tonight, but it's supposed to be stormy. So yeah, I'm still waiting for the right moment. And then Kevin says, I recently read an interesting passage from the Tao. Hope is as hollow as fear. Hope and fear are both phantoms. They take us out of the present. Thank you, Kevin. I'll read it again. Hope is as hollow as fear. Hope and fear are both phantoms. Yeah. Yeah. So the present moment is really all we have, right? I mean, it is literally all we have. It's the only truth. Anything in the future is completely made up. We have no idea. And these times are helping us see that more than any other time. We used to be very convinced that we could know what the future held, but this is showing, and that's what's so scary for some people, for most people. But when you start to see it not as scariness, but as this is just what needs to happen for things to get so shaken up that things can change. All of the shadow stuff is having to come up to the surface now, because it's just like in your own personal mind. If stuff is in the subconscious, if it's not at a conscious level, you can't work with it, and so the collective is going through that right now too, where all of this shadow stuff is coming up for us to look at, and for us to examine and say, where did this come from? What are we doing as a culture that helped create this? So it's a fascinating time. Clay, would you recommend playing music while meditating or not? I would recommend you experiment with both. And I would recommend you see what feels right to you. So that's kind of what I was getting at, is this time is also about not like bowing down to any guru or teacher, but recognizing that your best teacher is your inner teacher. And this time is about learning to trust our own intuition. And that can be really tricky at first because we're not used to being trained to do that. I certainly was not trained to do that. And so it's been hard. And I just feel like I'm starting to catch glimpses of like, oh, this, I feel drawn to this. Okay. Or, oh, this doesn't feel right now. And so I would play around with it, Clay. I would meditate without music, maybe one day, and then the next day meditate with music. And it might change day to day too. And there's no right or wrong, there's no rules. It's all about kind of finding what works for you and what's resonant and what supports you best. So there's no right or wrong. In moments of acute high anxiety, is turning to meditation useful, even though focus will be very fragile? Charlie. Charlie, that's a really good question. And let me just feel into that for a moment. Again, I think everybody's different, but I think trying to do like a breath focused meditation when you're really anxious, for most people, is going to be really pretty challenging. I would try to get into my body first before doing any kind of meditation. And there's different ways to do that. I've taught the 4-7-8 breathing before. And if you are interested in that, Charlie, and you've not been exposed through me to that, you can Google 4-7-8 breathing, Dr. Weil, or you can go on YouTube, and Dr. Weil, Weil, has a great video. There's several videos of how to do it. So that's a really good thing to do during acute high anxiety, is that kind of breathing, because it calms the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight part of your nervous system. It literally releases chemicals that counteract that high anxiety. So it will help you biochemically. And you can do that. Another thing is getting outdoors and feeling your feet, really doing like a walking meditation in high anxiety. And especially like I was saying, if you can get into the forest, or if you get into a natural place, you really will notice a difference. If you're feeling acutely anxious and you go for like a 30 or 60-minute walk, or even if you just sit outside in nature, if you're not able to walk, but a lot of times moving the body somehow will help with anxiety. Sometimes just standing up and jumping and shaking. Another technique that I work with one-on-one with people is called TRE, trauma or tension releasing exercises. And that can be a really useful way to deal with stress or anxiety too. So, if that's something, Charlie, that you'd be interested in, you can reach out to me via Misty. You can send an email to Misty at the Monona Terrace, and then she forwards those emails to me. I'm happy to help people individually, or even just direct you towards resources. So yeah, I think breath focused meditation probably would be pretty hard during high anxiety. The other thing that really helps me when I'm highly anxious is doing sound stuff. So toning. If you've ever joined us, there's several guided meditations that are recorded on the Monona Terrace where I've done toning, which is just like making sound and feeling sound vibration in your body. That I have used for very high anxiety or high anger or any big emotions. And I have found that really can shift you into a different space and help you kind of see the big picture a little bit more. And then sometimes for really, really high anxiety, I mean, I really believe in using holistic methods first, but I'm also a psychiatrist and know how to prescribe medications. And during these times, sometimes there are people that just really need medicines that can help anxiety. And there's no harm in that. There's no weakness in that. We're all doing the best we can. So I hope that's helpful. And reach out if you need more information. Okay, Charlie. Thank you. Bow to each one of you. Thanks for coming.